2:30 in the morning, February 16, 2026. A quiet street in Tip City, Ohio, a small town 30 miles north of Dayton, the kind of place where people still wave at their neighbors. And then a phone rings at a 911 dispatch center. "Oh my God, somebody broke into my home. Somebody broke into my home and shot my wife."
Oh my God! Somebody broke into my home. Somebody broke into my home and shot my wife.
Are they still in there?
I don't know.
Okay, what's the address?
932 Cunningham Court, Kid City, Ohio. Please hurry. Please hurry.
What are you seeing?
My wife she's got 2 shots to her head. There's blood everywhere. Oh my God.
My wife, she's got 2 shots to her head. There's blood everywhere. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That voice belongs to Caleb Flynn, 39 years old, worship pastor, father of 2, former American Idol contestant. And according to investigators, the man who killed his wife. Authorities say officers were dispatched around 2:30 a.m. to the 900 block of Cunningham Court on a report of a burglary and 1 person shot. When they arrived at the home, they were met outside by an adult male identified as Caleb Flynn, who said there were 2 children inside. The officers located a woman, later identified as Ashley Flynn, 37, who was pronounced dead at the scene. 2 gunshot wounds to the head, in her own bedroom. Caleb Flynn's story was simple. A stranger broke in, shot his wife, and vanished into the night. He heard nothing. He saw no one. He simply woke up and found her. But that story, according to investigators, it was never real. Because here's the thing about this case. The red flags don't just appear after the fact. They appear in the very first 8 minutes of that 911 call. They appear in the physical evidence at the scene. They appear in what Caleb allegedly did in the 72 hours after Ashley's body was still warm. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Flynn, 39, was arrested on February 19, just 3 days after the killing, accused of murdering his wife inside their home in Tip City, Ohio. 3 days, that's how long it took investigators to shift their focus from finding an intruder to arresting the husband standing in the front yard. Now, before we get into the evidence, I want you to understand something. This documentary is built on court records, 911 audio, police body camera footage, and indictment documents. Nothing here is accusation for its own sake. Every red flag you're about to hear is grounded in the official record. Caleb Flynn has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His attorney says prosecutors rushed to judgment. The defense is building its case, and a jury will ultimately decide. But here's what the record shows, and it is stunning. Court records show Caleb is suspected of tampering with the crime scene, and not just once, 3 times. We're going to walk through the entire case, from the 911 call to the staged scene, to the financial motive that Ashley's own family uncovered, to the witness intimidation charges that nobody is talking about. 11 charges, 11 red flags, and a question that sits at the center of all of it. Who was really in that house at 2:30 a.m.? Stay with me, because what happens next in this story will genuinely shock you. And if you've been following this case, I promise you there are details in this breakdown you have not heard anywhere else. Don't go anywhere. Before we talk about what happened that night, you need to know who Ashley Flynn was. Because in cases like this, and I've covered enough of them to know, the victim gets reduced to a detail. A name on a document, a photo on a screen. Ashley Flynn was not a detail. An obituary described Ashley Flynn as a caring and dedicated mother to 2 daughters, a substitute teacher, and a 7th grade volleyball coach. She was 37 years old. She coached volleyball. She showed up every day for her students. She was embedded in the fabric of a community that, by all accounts, genuinely loved her. She had graduated in 2010 from Lee University, a private Christian university, and had previously served as a staff member of the Christian Life Center Church. She was a woman of faith, a woman of routine, a woman who built her life around the people she loved. And one of those people, the man she married, was Caleb Flynn. The defendant appeared on the 12th season of American Idol but did
Is there to prove my Savior
not advance past the preliminary rounds. In a hometown interview that year, Caleb spoke about his wife, saying she was beautiful, that he loved the Lord, and that music was his entire life. He appeared to be exactly what he presented. a devoted husband, a man of God, a small-town pastor building a family. Caleb Flynn most recently worked as a vice president of sales for Richard D. Smith and Sons, a business owned and operated by his wife's family. Read that again, he worked for her family's business. He had previously served as worship arts pastor at Living Word Church in Vandalia, then as worship director at Free Chapel in South Carolina, and later as a worship pastor at the Christian Life Center in Butler Township. And briefly, between January and November of 2021, he worked in life and annuities insurance. That detail matters, we'll come back to it. The couple had 2 daughters who were both home at the time of Ashley's killing. Girls, 9 and 12 years old, asleep in their rooms, or so the story goes, while their mother was shot twice in the head 20 feet away. Neither child reportedly woke up until police arrived. Now here's the picture that prosecutors say was building beneath the surface of this marriage. A man who worked for his wife's family, a man with insurance experience, a man listed as the primary beneficiary on his wife's life insurance policy. A man who, according to court records, had motive, access, and a very specific plan for what would happen after Ashley died. Investigators say Caleb Flynn shot and killed his wife with a 9mm handgun and then called 911 to report that his wife was attacked during a home invasion. That handgun, according to the prosecution, it was stored in the center console of Caleb's own Ford truck, parked in the garage, steps from the bedroom. The perfect life was already cracking, and nobody outside that house could see it. Not yet. Let's talk about the 911 call, because this is where the story begins to unravel, and it starts in the very first sentence. According to audio from the 911 call, Flynn told a dispatcher, "Oh my God, somebody broke into my home and shot my wife. My wife, she's got 2 shots to her head, there's blood everywhere. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Now listen to how that sentence is structured. He doesn't say, "My wife's been shot, help me." He says, "Somebody broke into my home." The intruder comes first. The explanation comes before the crisis. Genuine emergency calls are disorganized, fragmented, driven entirely by panic. They almost never open with a preformed narrative. But Caleb's very first words frame an explanation, a third party, before he even processes what he says happened to his wife. That's red flag number 1. Explanation before emergency. Then the dispatcher asks if he still sees anyone in the house. He says no. Did he see anyone exiting the home? He says, "I froze."
Okay.
No.
Do you still see anybody in the house?
No, the door to the garage was wide open. Please hurry, please. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. My daughters are here. My daughters are here.
No description, no direction, no height, clothing, or movement. The intruder is introduced loudly, urgently in the very first sentence of the call and then never appears again. No details, no direction, no witness description of any kind. Red flag number 2, the vanishing perpetrator. Now here's where the timeline gets uncomfortable. Caleb says he was sleeping on the couch because of a cough. He heard the dog shake its collar, thought it was one of his sick daughters. He went to check on the children. He laid down with them for, and I'm quoting, "I don't even know how long." Then he heard a gunshot just as he froze, and when he finally got up, the garage door was open. The word "finally" implies delay, but the window between when he says he heard something and when he says he found Ashley, according to behavioral analysts, that gap is never explained. That missing middle, those unaccounted for minutes, is exactly when the crime allegedly occurred. Red flag number 3, the unexplained timeline gap. And then there's this. Caleb tells the dispatcher his wife has 2 shots to the head. That is an extremely specific piece of information. Tip City Police Chief Greg Adkins confirmed Ashley was pronounced dead at the scene with 2 gunshot wounds. So Caleb is factually correct, but think about what that requires. To know she was shot twice to the head means either he heard 2 distinct gunshots or he was close enough to examine her wounds. Yet he reportedly had no blood on his clothing, and he never clearly stated he heard 2 separate shots. That tension between what he knows and what his proximity would logically allow him to know is what investigators call a behavioral inconsistency. Red flag number 4, specific knowledge without proximity. The homicide was initially reported by Caleb Flynn as a home invasion and shooting, according to 911 records. But a thorough investigation revealed there was no burglary, and investigators accused Caleb Flynn of attempting to stage the scene. The story he built in those first 8 minutes, according to the prosecution, every single piece of it was constructed, deliberately, methodically, in the dark. Here's what police found when they walked into that house. No signs of forced entry, no ransacked rooms.
I checked this right here. Nothing else. Okay. Are in the bedroom over there. They're still asleep.
Okay, have you checked on them?
The 911. Yes. Right now, no one else comes in here. Period. No, every door. No one.
No overturned furniture, no broken windows, no trail of disruption that would indicate a stranger moving through someone else's home in the middle of the night. Prosecutors say Caleb Flynn called police to report a burglary in progress and that his wife had been shot. Detectives say there was no burglary. The house looked the way it would look if no one had broken in at all. 2 shell casings were found on the bedroom floor. According to prosecution documents, they matched a 9 handgun, the same caliber as the weapon investigators say Caleb stored in the center console of his 2024 Ford truck in the garage. The same garage he repeatedly mentioned in the 911 call, the same garage door he couldn't stop talking about. He mentioned that open garage door more than 5 times in an 8-minute call. And then police walked over to look at it. According to the officer's report, there was a side door on the north side of the garage, and a large refrigerator positioned directly in front of it. For that door to have been open from the outside, someone would have had to move that refrigerator. Caleb never mentioned moving a fridge. He never said how the door got open. He just described the condition the door was open without ever explaining how. That's the difference between describing a scene and explaining one. The defense team for the Tip City man accused of killing his wife argued he staged the crime scene, which caused officers to be led astray. Now let's talk about money. Ashley Flynn's family retained an attorney, and what they discovered while reviewing the couple's financial records landed like a second shock wave. Caleb Flynn was listed as the primary beneficiary on Ashley's life insurance policy. Ashley's family immediately moved to protect their grandchildren's financial future, requesting a court-ordered freeze on family assets including the home, vehicles, bank accounts, and retirement funds. The filing stated the children faced what their attorney called immediate and irreparable harm if Caleb began liquidating family assets. Think about that phrase, irreparable harm, and what it implies. It implies urgency. It implies the threat was considered real enough to require a court order. Caleb's most recent role was as a vice president of sales for Richard D. Smith & Sons, a business owned and operated by his wife's family. He worked for the family he was now fighting in court. He stood to inherit from the woman he allegedly murdered, and he had spent time years earlier in life and annuities insurance, the exact industry that governs the policy at the center of this. If convicted, Flynn will face life in prison without the possibility of parole. Ohio's Slayer statute also means that if convicted, he would be barred from collecting any life insurance proceeds. Those would pass directly to the children. But he hasn't been convicted yet. And according to prosecutors, between February 16th and February 18th, Flynn allegedly attempted to intimidate a witness in the days following the shooting. The body was still in the house, the children were still in the home, and he was already allegedly trying to silence someone. That's not grief, that's strategy. On March 18, 2026, 1 month after Ashley Flynn was found dead in her bedroom, a Miami County grand jury returned their verdict on the evidence. A Miami County grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging Flynn with aggravated murder, 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, 3 counts of tampering with evidence, and 2 counts of intimidation of a witness in a criminal case, according to court records. Several of the charges include firearm specifications. 11 counts? A grand jury reviewed the physical evidence, the behavioral record, the 911 audio, the crime scene, and said, yes, there is enough here, this goes to trial. Flynn pleaded not guilty to all counts at an arraignment the following day. As part of his arraignment, his updated bond was placed at $3.5 million by a judge. Flynn is also barred from any interactions with his 2 children under a no-contact order. Read that slowly. He cannot contact his own daughters, the same daughters who were in that house, the same daughters prosecutors may call to testify. Prosecutors have asked the judge to grant a motion to enforce the children's rights when they testify, under Ohio law. Minors testifying may be afforded additional protections, including adjusting the courtroom to ensure their comfort or using a screen to prevent the defendant from seeing them or them from seeing him. His own daughters may take the stand, shielded from his sight by a courtroom screen. Now the defense has been clear about where they stand. Attorney L. Patrick Mulligan said, "We are both disappointed and concerned about the short timeline and seeming rush to judgment in this case. When the government runs out of leads or can't develop leads and looks at a surviving spouse in cases such as these, the chance of a wrongful conviction increases." That is a legitimate legal argument. Surviving spouses do become targets of suspicion in cases that go cold. Wrongful convictions do happen. And Caleb Flynn, until a jury says otherwise, is innocent in the eyes of the law. But the grand jury saw the evidence, and they returned 11 charges. Caleb Flynn's murder trial has been delayed for a second time. The trial had already experienced multiple delays. Originally set for April 29th, it was moved to May 4th after prosecutors filed a motion for continuance. Later, the judge granted a request for further delay related to the defense hearing an expert. Judge Jeanine N. Pratt ruled that after careful review and advice by counsel, Flynn's trial will begin on Thursday, September 17, 2026 and last 2 weeks.
After careful review and advisement by counsel, we have confirmed a date. The date
Judge
of the
Jeanine
trial
Pratt
will begin on Thursday, September 17th and continue.
Caleb Flynn's own attorneys want the jury to visit the scene of the crime, but Flynn himself does not want to be there. Think about that, he wants the jury to see his house, he just doesn't want to go back inside it. September 17, 2026. That's when 12 people will sit in a courtroom in Troy, Ohio and decide what happened at 2:30 in the morning on February 16th. They'll hear the 911 call, they'll walk through the house, they'll look at the shell casings, the garage door, the refrigerator, the bedroom where Ashley Flynn took her last breath. And they'll decide, was this a home invasion? Or were the red flags there all along, hiding in plain sight? I'm Cole from True Crime Stories by Cole. If this breakdown hit differently, drop your biggest red flag in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if you want to be here when the trial starts September 17th, hit subscribe. We're not going anywhere, and neither is this case.